Awesome, everyone. So welcome to week number 2 of our training videos. I'm super excited. Sorry, I've dressed like it's snowing outside, but I live in Southern California and it's just cold here to us. But I'm excited to be, chatting about this week. Melody can't be on, but this was the week that I know I was in the training video on. So I just want to help expand on everything that we learned on and answer any questions that we might have had. So if you guys want to go ahead and pop in that chat bar and ask any questions to get us going. I have some things that I'm already ready to expand on, but other than that, if you want to go ahead and ask those questions, I would love to help get starting on answering them. But I'm assuming you guys all watched the video on preparing for your class. So week 1 was amazing on just the whole background of where to get started, right? That jump starting. But when you're really getting going, the biggest information or the biggest bounce you can see in your business is just doing your first class, right? And it seems kind of scary, like, okay, I love essential oils, right? And I want to do this business, but how do I turn around and teach other people about it? Because sometimes in the beginning, you're like, I just have no idea. But number one, I'll just go ahead and start going through some of the things. And if you guys think of the questions as we go through, feel free to ask them in the chat bar, or you can just pop on and ask them verbally if you guys want to do that as well. But let's get going on some of these topics. So number one, I wanted to touch base on just why are regular intro classes so powerful? Because I think a lot of times what we see other people doing at this point in the game is a lot of make and take classes are really specific classes that are very interesting to us, right? We've been using essential oils for a little while, so we're like, I want to get into the game, but I want to offer people things that they'd be really interested in. So, and that could be great, and make and takes and things like that are very fun, but I personally love a basic intro to essential oils class. It's where I kind of taught myself and learned from the beginning, but they can be incredibly informative for people. It's all about the basic knowledge, and they help people be able to feel confident when they're first starting. Now, for us, or if we've been using essential oils for a little while and now just starting to jump into the business side of it, or even if we're just kind of fresh out of the gates and ready to go, for us, typically we're just really obsessed, right? We're loving the essential oils. We want everything and any knowledge that we can possibly have. But for other individuals that maybe are on that fence of, should I toy with the idea of natural wellness or anything like that, for them, any of that extra information is going to be very overwhelming. And so I always tell people, when you're first getting started and you're introducing your warm market to what you're doing and want to share why it's been so amazing for you, the biggest benefit is going to be a basic class. And I think a lot of times people think, oh, that's just going to be boring, right? Nobody's going to show up. But if you give yourself that mindset of nobody's going to show up, well, guess what? Nobody's going to show up. So just know that if you're loving the oils and you're really excited to share about the benefits behind them, then people are going to want to show up. And when they do show up, they're going to be so excited to just learn from you, right? Because clearly you're excited about the topics. So they're going to want to get that feedback. I see Stephanie answer question. I love the Natural Solutions handout you used. So that one is an available resource. And so I'm going to talk about a lot of the stuff that we use is like in our basic classes, right? So I'll tell you exactly where we can get that. But were you guys all able to watch that class demonstration? I would love if you just hop in the chat bar and let us know if you guys were able to see that. I know it's yes, awesome. I'm so glad you watched it. I filmed it. My kids were like in the other room with my husband, and I wanted to really badly tape a physical class, but I just didn't have one in that time frame. And so I just figured, whatever, let's get it on, because so many people want to see it, right? It's just when you're first starting to teach people about essential oils, and I found this for myself when I first got started, I literally just Googled a doTERRA class script, and I was like, okay, how can I figure out how to teach people about this stuff, right? So I just found myself a script and I read it over a little bit, and I already was using the essential oils, so I figured, okay, this kind of makes sense, right? I'm just going to hold my script in front of me and just go for it. And it worked really well. I enrolled most of the people that were in my first class. Everybody got on the LRP, and I was like, hey, clearly I'm doing something right because I'm just following the instructions, right? And then as you go along, you can see everything kind of fluctuate and change. Your classes change over time. But the biggest thing about watching that demonstration class, or if you have upline that is close to you that you're able to attend one of their classes, or even it's just a friend that's in the business, just ask and attend anything that you can, because everything that you involve yourself with is going to arm you with that extra knowledge that you can turn around and teach other individuals. So I'm glad that a lot of people watch that demonstration class. One of the biggest things I want you to know is that, first of all, I don't ever sound that eloquent in a class. Like I physically had my script in front of me, and so it was very easy for me to carry on and not be distracted because there was nobody physically present at that class, so to speak. But it's okay to know that if you guys want to mute your lines just while we're doing this, if you have a question, you can unmute just so we can minimize the background noise. But just know that every single class is going to go a little bit different, and that's kind of just dependent on the attendees that you have. The most important thing to know is just once you kind of develop or learn that script, right, which we attached a couple variations, because in my time with doTERRA, which I've been sharing oils for nearly 4 years now, so I had my basic script, and my class could look a lot different than maybe something that you guys have attended or somebody that you know teaches, and that's totally okay. But the biggest thing that we really want for you guys is just to figure out, okay, how do I teach this class, right? So we kind of armed you with a couple different scripts. What I want you to do is look at those scripts and say, what feels comfortable or more natural to me with the information that we share? And then take that and make it your own. You don't have to think, oh, I need to teach exactly like Melody, or I need to turn around and teach exactly like Brittany taught that demonstration class. None of that is important. The importance are the basics of that class, right? And so just know that the foundational script is really what we're going for. And then once you start to memorize and know the information that you have, then you can expand and be able to cater towards the individuals that you have in your classes. Just guys, you're asking what the demonstration class is. So in the video, or below the video link of your week 2 video that you watched, there was a link to another video where I had a demonstration class. And so I can go ahead and probably try to link that here while we're chatting, but it's basically 30 minutes. And this was just me taping my regular essential oil class. And it's 30 minutes of a video of me portraying me like teaching a class. So it can seem a little cheesy because it wasn't exactly there, but it should be in the links below there. So if you can find that, that'd be great. Otherwise, we can be sure to get that over to you. So it's really just there as an example. So the best way to learn kind of how to do it in the beginning is to watch other people teach. And sometimes it's easiest by attending 1 or 2 classes that somebody else does. And then you're going to think, okay, maybe I feel a little more confident to turn around and do it myself. But definitely don't feel overwhelmed, because it's very basic information that we share in these classes. So one other important point, let me see. Besides the script, do you have a general timeline or outline you follow? Absolutely. So when you are teaching your classes, one very important thing you want to remember is a good timeline is to not go over 45 minutes. That's kind of like the sweet spot of an essential oil class. When you start getting beyond that 45 minutes, people start to tune out. They're overwhelmed with information, right? That's a lot of information, over 45 minutes. If there's just their timing, depending on they showed up to the class and it starts to go longer than they thought it was going to be, they're probably going to have to sneak out. Then they're going to miss a lot of the class, and they're maybe not going to see how to get started. And so the ideal timeline is within 45 minutes. If you can teach and close within 45 minutes, you're doing well. Now, don't feel like you need to do that out of the gates, because when I first started teaching my class, I feel like my first class was probably 2 hours, you guys. And that's just like real life of any doTERRA leader that you talk with. Getting the feedback. That's just literally real life feedback of what you might get from anybody that hops on to like talk about their first classes. My first one was legitimately like 2 hours. Thankfully, it was all friends and family, and they were really nice and like didn't care that it went over. But as I've been teaching for this nearly 4 years, what I've seen is when I videotaped myself doing that demonstration class, and it was spot on 30 minutes, I was like, all right, now I can see that after a lot of this practice, and I know exactly what I want to say, you can really dial it down to exactly what it needs. So that's a great question. Now, outlines and things, I am a big proponent. I stand behind having your script in front of you at all times. And that's whether you're teaching online, whether you're teaching a one-on-one, or if you're teaching a full class. Now, the reason being, and you can always preface this when you go into your class, right? So if you're teaching a class and you have your handout in front of you, it's like your notes. People don't know what it is. They're not going to be judging the fact that you have your entire script sitting in front of you. So just go ahead and have that sitting in front of you. And you can even preface that when you start. Be like, hey, I just want to let you guys know I have this notes page. And this is personally what I say because this is very prevalent to myself. I'm a talker. So I just tell them, I'm like, this is my notes, basically my outline of what we're going to cover today. This is just here to make sure I stay on track so that we stay within a timeline that's fitting for your guys' needs today. I love to go on tangents and different topics. So this is just going to help me adhere to what we need to talk about today. And so people are not going to judge the fact that you have a script or an outline, just the same as people wouldn't judge somebody that's up giving a presentation having notes in front of themselves. So just go in. The more upfront you are about the information that you're providing, the more people are not going to question you. You just have to know that. I think it can be really scary when you're first teaching your classes because you're like, oh my gosh, these people are going to be like judging this, judging that. They're not going to like the price of this. They're not going to like the idea of essential oils. But the more you get that stuff into your head, the more likely people are going to read through and see that. But once you're confident, you're like, no, girl, I have this script here because I want to make sure to tell you exactly what you need to know tonight. And then they're like, awesome, I appreciate and I respect that because you want to make sure to give me the information and you're going to be very mindful of my time, right? So that's a great question. Now, when it comes to physically teaching your class and what do you need, right, going in? So there's obviously we kind of covered there's a lot of different scripts out there. So kind of figure out ahead of time and figure out what you want, practice that script, kind of go through the information you want to talk about because if you don't practice it ahead of time, just like when we were in speech class when we were in high school, you didn't practice, you didn't do well. And that's just the name of the game. So just decide what you want to talk about, practice it, and then based on the format you're going to do, there's so many resources out there for different tear sheets and teaching products that you can choose from. But I love to keep it simple when you first get started, and I personally still keep it very simple. You don't want to overwhelm people, right? So the doTERRA sells a class in a box, and this is just available to purchase to customers or builders. It's just there in the product. So you can search class in a box. It's $25. Oh goodness. So it's $25, and so you can just go ahead and grab that and I think I muted myself, you guys. So I was trying to mute somebody else and then I muted myself. So I apologize for that. So thank you guys for letting me know. Because there's so many of you guys on this call and I'm excited. So I just want to make sure we keep the sound well. And apparently in my means to muting somebody else, I muted myself. So back to what I was saying. So the class in the box, available for $25 in the back office. You can purchase the box for $25 and it has the natural solutions brochures. It has handouts for you to invite people. Totally worth it, right, Katie? It also comes with 10 5 milliliter wild orange essential oils, which I personally love to have those on hand so I can offer them to people that decide to get started. I use it as an enrollment incentive. I'm like, in my classes or my one-on-ones or even in my social media, I say, hey, if you get started, you're going to get this little goodie pack or goodie bag, and it includes a 5 milliliter wild orange, which is, extra on top of what you're already getting started with, right? And the cool thing is when you offer something like that, they get to walk home with that oil instead of waiting for their box to actually ship. So they actually get that right away. So the class in the box has the brochures, they have living guides, they have a catalog in there. It has basically everything housed in that one box that you need to get started with. So like I was saying, there's a lot of things to choose from online, which is great. And once you kind of get your flow and your rhythm and decide what information you decide you want to teach, then you can kind of cater different handouts and, tear guides and things like that throughout time. But don't worry about that in the very beginning. Keep it simple. Just turn around and teach what you guys have been loving so far, right? So So I missed a question from Jessica. It says, what does building someone a kit involve? Is it just basically figuring out what they want and then selecting oils individually? Is there no discount on pre-made kits? So when it comes, I'm assuming, Jessica, you're talking about physically closing when you're deciding to get somebody started with enrolling at the end, which I'll talk a little bit about like closing the class in a bit, but I can go ahead and answer that question right now. So when we talk about closing the class or building a kit, obviously doTERRA has pre-made kits that make it very, very easy. If you're teaching based off of your top 10 essential oils, I'm assuming most people got started with the Home Essentials or the Family Essentials kit. Those are some of the most common, and then there's the Aroma Touch kit. So that's why I mentioned in that video, you could literally turn around and teach off of what you got started with doTERRA. You don't have to make it fancy and buy hundreds of oils and have the whole collection or anything like that. You can literally take what you learned and turn around and teach from it. So if you got your top 10 kit, then take those 10 classes to your class that you're teaching and teach based off of those. If you got started with the Aroma Touch kit and maybe those are the only oils you have, teach from the Aroma Touch kit. Now, when you're actually deciding to build somebody a kit or closing them on getting started with essential oils, the best thing that I love to do is just to talk about, because in the beginning of the class, I always love to ask, what are your health concerns and goals? And so once they start answering those questions, you can get an idea of, okay, so you deal with allergies, you deal with some sleep issues, and we're all stressed out in life, right? Whatever it is. And then you can cater. And sometimes this takes some time just with knowing the kits and having that education and familiarizing yourself with what's available. But you should know kind of the basic kits and how they could be integrated into people's lives and help with those issues. So that way, when you are closing on a class and helping people decide on what they get started with, then you can figure out what fits into their needs with their budget. So sometimes people go, all right, you could tell which kits they're geared towards, right? Like sometimes they're looking right at the Family Essentials kit and they're like, well, I don't know if I need all of those oils. Okay, I get that question or that objection all the time, right? And this is just basic sales. Now, if they say, I don't think I need all those oils, you guys know it's a very good price point of being $150 for those top 10 oils, right? It comes with frankincense. That itself is worth the money. And so when you start breaking down, okay, what are your needs or your concerns? What do you really want to get started with? Typically, if you go through and price out the membership cost plus the essential oils that they're interested in getting started with, it usually ends up being around like $120. I don't know what it is about that number, but every time I do it with somebody, that's kind of what it ends up being. And then they go, oh, well, I'm only going to get 3 oils and it's going to be $120 versus I can get the Family Essentials kit for $150. And then they're like, okay, now I understand the cost benefit of starting with a kit, right? It's a money saver. So I hope that answers your question a little bit about just how do you build somebody a kit. I just go around what doTERRA offers. I do often get people that do like to select oils individually, and sometimes that just works best for certain people. But depending on what they want, there aren't any other discounts on like kits that you kind of create for people. It would just be the cost of the wholesale membership plus those specific oils. So I love to base them around kits because they're going to get the most into people's hands so they can experience more at a lesser cost. So the more you can arm them with and get them set up for, like if you know that they have X, Y, and Z issues, then you could definitely turn around and say, well, I know that these 10 oils are going to cover all of your needs versus trying to just start with one of your needs and then moving on from there. Because if they only end up with 1 or 2 oils, their likeliness of trying other ones is going to be less. So if you get them with the kit and they have 150 different uses with that top 10 essential oil kit, then they're going to be like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize all the things that these could do, right? You want to help arm them with the things that they need necessary. So I hope that helps. And yeah, class in a box is a serious great deal. Let me see my notes and see where was that. Okay, so when it comes to just preparing for your class and knowing what you need, if you keep it really simple, if you had the class in a box, because it has all the teaching guides, the catalog, living magazines you can hand out to people that get started, and then those 10 wild oranges, right? Start with that and then bring your oils and bring your diffuser. That's all you need to get started with. So that's as simple as it can be. And like I said, as you expand and get familiar and comfortable with what you want to teach and talk about, then you're going to be able to expand on having different sheets and presentation available for people. Now, one thing that I didn't touch on is just inviting. So going back to just thinking of like getting people to classes, right? So the biggest piece of advice I can give in inviting individuals is if you're not hearing the word no, you're not asking enough people. And I know it can be really scary in the beginning to think, oh my goodness, how am I going to ask so and so if they want to come to this essential oil class, right? And so just know that the more people you cut off from inviting, you're not casting a wide enough net and you're not going to reap the benefits of hitting that larger market when you're first getting started. There are a lot of people that I overlooked when I first started this business that I never asked, but I wanted to, and now they're using oils and they're using them with somebody else. So just know that if you take that bold step to ask that question, maybe they say no at first, and no does not always mean no. So just remember that, you know, ask the question. If you hear no, that's totally fine. It doesn't mean no forever. It just means no, not right now. Maybe they think, oh, you're just too new into this, or maybe I'm not ready to learn about natural solutions in my life. But come time, in my time, I've had so many people that have come to me now that I'm almost 4 years in thinking, okay, you've been doing this for 4 years now. I wasn't ready for natural solutions in my life when you first started with this, but I just had a baby, and now all of a sudden I realize that pharmaceuticals are not the way I want to go, and I want that natural option. And I know you have the information for me, right? So just if you make people know that you are doing this and always giving that opportunity of an open door for people to come to your classes, letting them know what's going on, then they will always come around to that. Okay, let's see. So Haven, right? Haven. So as far as inviting a lot of people, I don't have that much physical space to fit people comfortably. Should I just invite all who I want to invite and have people snuggle up? So definitely know that when you're first inviting people, there's always a big attrition of people that are going to be able to show up. And what you could do is kind of like create that beginning list of people that you want to invite. So go ahead and invite 15 people. And then once you start hearing like, yes, 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 no, 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 whoever's going to be able to come, go, oh, okay, I can extend this invitation out to a few more people. And don't just limit yourself to your space. Maybe your first classes are with your closest knit group of people. And that's going to be in that small space because you know people are going to be comfortable snuggling up and being, really in tight quarters. But as you start teaching other classes, know that you're going to find people that are interested in being your hostesses. So you don't have to always be the physical one that hosts the class. You can start reaching out to people that you either got started with essential oils, or maybe it's a family member that you know is into natural solutions, and maybe instead of inviting them to your home, say, hey, I would love to turn around and give you a gift if you want to host a class in your home, because think of the people that you have that have a little bit more space than you do in your house, and think, okay, I can utilize this to my advantage because I know that Tammy loves, natural solutions. So reach out to them. Now, good ideas for hostess gifts. What I always started with was a diffuser. You can find very affordable diffusers on Amazon. Yeah, maybe it's not ideal because it's not a doTERRA diffuser, but there's really affordable things on Amazon that you could turn around and give as gifts. Or when you start getting your free oils from, ordering on the LRP, or it's BOGO week, guys. Like this week is BOGO week. So every single day there's a deal where you can get something for free. And if you're like, oh, well, I would like the petitgrain, but I don't really need the lavender. Well, you can use the lavender as a hostess gift and know you got that for free. So hostess gifts can literally range in anything from product to maybe that specific person just loves wine. Get them a bottle of wine. Don't limit yourself to what it could be. So hostess gifts, I always started with a diffuser because if it's typically somebody that hasn't really gotten started, or if they're very new into oils, they would love an extra diffuser or just their first diffuser in their home. Especially those people that got started with a family essentials kit. So maybe they got started with oils but don't have a diffuser. Say, I know you got started with your oils and I would love to gift you a free diffuser if you want to host a class in your home. Now, when it comes to ideal class sizes, I personally love the more intimate size classes because you're able to cater to everybody's needs that are there. So my ideal class size is usually between like 5 to 7 people, sometimes even 4 to 7 people. Now I've taught classes to nearly 20 people, and I've taught classes to one. So dynamics will literally always change. And sometimes you have dynamics of large classes that they're like chatty Cathy's and nobody can get words in, and you have to be like the teacher that stops things. It's like, let's stay on schedule, you guys. And people will appreciate that because there's always somebody that's there that's like, okay, yeah, yeah, keep us on track, right? But and you'll get those large classes where maybe a lot of people don't know each other and it's a little more quiet. So you have to just, and I kind of mentioned this in the video that we watched this week. So you kind of have to base it depending on what happens. You know, I've walked into so many classes not knowing the people and not knowing what was going to happen. I did Diamond Club 2 seasons in a row, which meant I got to teach and travel to a ton of people, and a lot of them were people I did not know. So when you walk into a space, sometimes it'd be 4 people. All right, we get to chatting. Sometimes they're really quiet because they don't know you in the beginning. So just know, you know, if people aren't answering your questions, just like when we start calls like this, you're like, I don't even know what to ask or where to start, right? And that's totally fine and normal. So you have to ask those probing questions. And so that's why those icebreakers of, you know, what are your guys' health concerns? And sometimes they're like, I don't even know if I have a health concern. So that could be a broad question. You could just say, what are you dealing with in your life right now that you're not finding solutions for? You know, are you struggling with sleep at night? Are you having issues with seasonal allergies? Or it's been super cold. Is everybody around you sick? And just start asking those probing questions, and guaranteed, it always comes up when you make the sleep reference, the stress reference, or people with kids reference. They're going to be like, oh, hands down, yes, I deal with everything that you just named right now. And so that can help open that door into the talkative side. Now, when you get that large group or even a small group that is just very chatty, you'll learn how to kind of harness that and go along. If I'm dealing with people that I know directly, it's usually a little bit easier. If you're dealing with a hostess and you don't know anybody else that's going on, make sure to preface the hostess before and just say, hey, I'd love to know a little bit about the people that are coming to the class tonight or this week or whenever it is. And just say, you know, I want to be mindful of everybody's time. So I just want to know, are these people typically chatty? You could always ask these questions. So don't feel weird to probe your hostess even before going into a class. And so you can know kind of going in what you're going to expect. And as you teach, you're going to learn, right? Every experience that you guys have, you're going to learn a little bit more, and it's going to become easier. So know when you're first teaching your first class, just start with a close knit of people that you feel comfortable with and trying it out for the first time, right? I mean, the first class that I had my mom, 2 aunts, I had a family friend, a couple family friends. So it was very close knit of people, right? That I felt comfortable like reading from a script. It was, to me, it felt really awkward, but everybody walked away thanking me because they were like, oh no, I didn't care that you were like referencing your script. I felt like I learned so much, and they all appreciated it so much because I was honest, right, going forward. But as I've gone through teaching, I've started to learn, okay, this is the different dynamics that you can be exposed to, and sometimes that just takes time. So that's totally okay. I hope I answered that question. Okay, so back to inviting. Make sure you cast that wide net, right? Don't eliminate or keep people out of inviting just because you're afraid to hear the word no. Because if you're not hearing the word no, you are literally not asking enough people. And it's okay to hear people just say no because they're not in town or they're just not ready. And that is totally okay. And over time, they'll be like, oh, you know what? Brittany did ask me if I wanted to come to that class, and I couldn't that time, but I see she's hosting another one. So I'm going to actually reach out to her because I want to attend and learn a little bit more now that I have time. So let me just reference my notes real quick. So back to what to have. So obviously just the very, very basics. Get the class in the box, you guys. There's nothing that's going to be more beneficial to starting off right away than that class in a box. Now, when it comes to teaching your class, you can reference the scripts that I had tagged in on those videos, but there's basically 4 components that I use. I talk about what an essential oil is. And I always tell people, I'm like, it's super basic, you guys. And I know sometimes people don't care about science or anything about that, but we're just going to talk about what an oil is. And people laugh and you talk through it, right? The second thing I talk about is how to use them. That's usually what people are here to learn, right? They're like, I've heard about these voodoo things, but I don't understand what they are or even how they work or what to do with them if I got them. So teach people how to use them. The third would be why doTERRA. You want to talk about the difference of essential oils that are in the marketplace. There's so many available out there, and so many of them I love Target and I love Amazon and I shop at those places all the time. I do not buy my essential oils from there, and there's a reason, and that's because the quality of standard, right? So teach people why doTERRA. Why did you choose doTERRA? That can be a part of your story or your script that you teach. Um, then number 4 is just let people experience the oils. So you have your basic 3 topics of what are essential oils, how do I use them, why doTERRA. Now take your physical oils, your top 10 or your aroma touch kit, whatever one you have, and let people experience them. I love to pass them around the room one at a time. I talk about what the oil is. I show them how to put a drop in their hand, how to rub their hands together, tell them not to touch their face if it's peppermint, like very basic information. And then just start talking about stories with each oil, like why you love peppermint or some of the things that you know it does. Because people love stories and they love examples. And especially when you're in a small, if it's just, 4 to 7 people in a class, passing around and having them experience that is so powerful. And even if it is a larger size class, you can still do that very, very easily. And then the last component to a class is just teaching them how to get started. If you have these wonderful classes and you teach all this amazing education and information, but you don't tell them how to get started, you're doing yourself an injustice, because guaranteed there's going to be somebody in that room that was interested in getting those oils in their home. And if you don't give them the opportunity to enroll, then I mean, that's the basics of this business. So teach them how to get started. And I kind of broke it down really simply in the video. I mean, you just say, all right, there, you can get started 2 different ways, either retail or wholesale. These are the benefits of the wholesale account. And then there's these amazing kits that save you money, but they also waive that membership fee. And they're basically created to be a budget saver for you guys for you guys. And so definitely teach them how to get started. Now, Jessica, I see you asked another question. How do you handle people who already have a doTERRA account but aren't active, haven't ordered in a while, and maybe want to switch? If they haven't ordered in a while and they know you very well, I always offer the opportunity to have them switch. If it's been, so if you guys weren't aware of this, if anybody has a doTERRA account and they haven't ordered in 6 months, they can send an email to placements@doterra.com and they can request to change their enrollership and sponsorship to somebody else. So I always help people fill out that email to send it in to doTERRA, but it's very, very simple. And if you have somebody that's inactive, you better try to get them to switch, because clearly if they haven't ordered in 6 months, they do not have the education that they need. We have an amazing support group with our online community, and it's oftentimes that they just don't have access to something like that. So if you can offer it, hands down, give them the opportunity to switch. That's not a bad thing. It gets really fishy when you're starting to be like, okay, I'm going to start recruiting from other people's teams or taking other people's customers. Don't do any of that shadiness. But if you find somebody that has experienced the oils before and has ordered, give them the opportunity to have them switch over to you, and then you can get them plugged into all of our resources, and then you can help walk them through, because then you're going to benefit from that, right, with your residual income. But they're going to benefit because they're going to know how and why to use their oils and get all the education behind it. People that have, let's see, I have so many friends who've tried doTERRA and want to learn about oils, but their upline doesn't give them any info on how to use them. So give them the opportunity to switch. Know that they have to go 6 months without ordering. I try not to offer that a ton if they're currently regularly ordering, but if it's truly somebody that's a close friend to you and they don't know their upline, that is always an option. But definitely, like I said, be careful with that. One thing I do want to mention is there are a lot of individuals that will tell you, oh, I use doTERRA. And if you ever hear that line, don't assume that they have an account, you guys. I have enrolled so many people because they have doTERRA, or they've tried doTERRA, but they tried it through somebody else, or they ordered them on Amazon and they just didn't know. And so they physically don't have their own account. You always want to qualify that individual. If they tell you, oh yeah, I use and love doTERRA, I go, oh awesome, so you have the wholesale membership? Are you taking a part of the rewards program? And oftentimes they're like, what is that? I'm like, do you have your own account? And they're like, no, I ordered through somebody that I met. And so there you go. That's like the biggest reasoning of, all right, let me qualify this individual and see if they even have an account. If they do, and it's been a long time, say, oh my gosh, I would be more than happy to help provide you with a community and education. We can easily switch your account onto our incredible team. It just requires one email as long as you haven't ordered in 6 months. And I usually ask them, when's the last time you ordered from doTERRA? And then they can physically pull up their orders from their email and all of that. Let's see, Elise said, I have 2 builders who attended one of my classes but were signed up with an old Diamond Leader and they switched. So yeah, very true. You're going to find a lot of people that have exposure to a doTERRA or have an old account. Sometimes people are like, I don't even know the information that I have. And if somebody has no idea their account information, you can chat into doTERRA with them. You can't chat on behalf of somebody, but you can chat with them, have them locate their account information and their ID number. And then once you have that information, you can have them switch. I like that Jordan says they've had that experience and when the lavender like burned and they're like, it got on Amazon. Yeah, you always want to qualify people because guaranteed if they've experienced doTERRA, it's like 50% of the time that people don't actually have their own account. So be sure to definitely go through that. Before we move on, I want to make sure, is there any other questions that we have up to this point? I know it's kind of been like here, there, and everywhere of like preparing for a class, but let me know in the side column if you do have any other questions. Otherwise, I'm just going to turn around and talk about just homework for the week. And I'll wait for a second to see if there's any questions, but super simple, straightforward, right, guys? Let's see. You have a loaded question about a class. Let me see if that popped up on my phone, but it didn't pop up on me. What's the loaded question? Oh, I love that question, Jordan. That's fantastic. So hearing, well, I like doTERRA, but it's so much more than Young Living. That's actually false. And I physically walk people through this. So doTERRA is actually a lot cheaper than Young Living. A lot of times people will judge it based on their starter kits. So their starter kits actually look like they're less expensive, but everything else is a lot cheaper. So see, thank you, Jessica says Young Living is way more expensive. So comparing, this is what I do. And if you guys don't know the answer to this question, what I recommend is physically go onto their website and start looking at the. So one thing with Young Living is they have 2 different types of oils. They have their regular like topical and aromatic, and then they have their internal line, right? So they have 2 different types of copaiba. I'm sorry, I don't want to have 2 different types of copaiba on hand if I want to use it internally and then also in my diffuser. So if you start actually looking through a lot of their oils, they're really expensive individually. And then also their rewards program isn't they get less than our rewards. So I think their cap is at 25% back, whereas ours is 30% back. They also have different minimums on their monthly orders. So if you ever meet somebody that's using Young Living, but they don't like like their monthly minimums and standards, things like that, if you compare the 2, they're a lot different. Sorry. But Young Living individually, way more expensive. And I highly recommend just go onto their website and just start price comparing because they have a lot of similar oils. And so when you start breaking it down, my biggest shock was like seeing copaiba because I love to use copaiba internally. And I obviously love to put it in my diffuser as well. But when you see that, it's very interesting. Okay, how much do you talk about the business opportunity class? I actually don't mention it a ton, Amy, and that kind of depends on my classes that I'm teaching. So I will always usually put like a little teaser reference in because when people are filling out their enrollment forms or they're going to see that option of saying, oh, what's the difference between a wholesale and an advocate? I always tell them, yeah, if you want to start making money by sharing about essential oils, then you're more than welcome to sign up as an advocate. It just requires your social security number. But if you just want to be a customer, then go ahead and fill it out without your social security number. And then you'll just be like a Costco membership, you know? So I like to plug it just because I don't overwhelm people. That's usually more of a topic when you're doing follow-ups or those wellness consultations, because when they're at their first class, they just learned about like natural wellness and they're like already overwhelmed, right? They're like, okay, this is what the oil is, this is how I use it. These are the ones that are, highly used. And so they're already on information overload. And so I like to save the follow-up information of loyalty rewards program, the different rewards points and the savings and free oils and all of that, and then the business for your follow-up. So if you're going to sit down and have a wellness consultation and plug them into all of that, do it at a second meeting opportunity, because you don't want to overwhelm them in the beginning. They don't even have their oils in their hands yet. So they're going to be like, I don't even know, like, because I haven't really experienced this product more than just tonight. So I like to use that as a follow-up in a secondary meeting. But plugging it is always good, because sometimes every once in a while you find that individual that's like, wait a minute, I can just do what you did and do this as a business. And so there's a small percentage of people that will get their ears perked by doing that. Let's see. So a cost analysis. Oh, were you talking about comparing like Young Living versus doTERRA, Jordan? If you had like a cost analysis sheet, I try never to bash. I never bash Young Living when I'm speaking. If people ask me the difference, I straight up tell them what the differences are from one to the next, just because of their sourcing quality. And I love that doTERRA sources from where oils grow indigenously, instead of trying to harvest them all on one farm here in the United States, because it's not possible. I think we should know that. But what I will do is I just physically show them. Sometimes I go, if they're using Young Living and they're very familiar with it, I go, oh, well, how much does this cost? Or how much are you currently spending to like qualify for those free rewards? And so when you can physically show them the difference, I don't front it if they don't ask for it, but if they do ask for that information, I'm more than happy to provide the answers to that. And I just say it as like, this is literally just the information you can find and search online yourself. And I'm just more than happy to share that, instead of having them research it. But yeah, hopefully that answers that. So it's not bad business practices, but I would say it's good practice to just know the difference. So that way, when you do encounter it with people that you're trying to teach about essential oils or enroll, then you'll have that answer right away, instead of like jumbling and not knowing what to do. Do I mention the required? So I don't, unless somebody physically asks me about the business. So Haven, that's a great question. If somebody asks that, or like is interested in the business, or if I mention it in that first class, I typically turn around and say, awesome. Well, I'm excited that you're interested in the business opportunity. I'm going to send you the business opportunity video that Melody created. It's in our resource community online. I want you to watch that, and it's going to go over everything in the business, because I know that's going to talk about the required 100 PV per month. It's going to talk about income opportunities. It's going to talk about all the basics. So instead of overwhelming somebody, I say all that information is housed in the video, so you can easily reference that. Any other questions before we wrap up with homework? Perfect, you guys. Well, I'm excited. I feel like we answered a lot of questions. I hope this was really helpful in regards to having your own class. Don't feel like it's really scary as far as, if you really want to do this business, but you don't turn around and host a class and start to teach people, you're not going to go anywhere in this business. So this is the main starting point for launching your doTERRA business, is just turning around and teaching this information. Now, whether that's a class or one-on-ones, it's all the same information. So that's the importance of knowing, like, okay, this is what I need to know to teach, right? So definitely watch those demonstration videos if you haven't, or it's just one. Or attend classes if you have any locally that you can. Have an upline teach your first one so you can watch it, and then co-teach maybe a second one so you can ease into teaching it. When I first got started, I did not have an upline. I literally just found the script online, I memorized it, and I turned around and I did exactly what it said. And you know what? It was really successful for me, because I just followed the formula of what I was supposed to do. So your upline is basically the individual that got you started. So whoever enrolled you, got you started with essential oils, would be your upline. And then above that, obviously, if we're all on Melly's team, she's also our upline as well. So I would definitely figure out who enrolled you, what team you're on. Ask those questions to your upline. Or whoever enrolled you, got you started, just say, hey, I just want to figure out like who I can touch base with so they can be a resource to me as I turn around to get started. Because sometimes your direct enroller might be a little bit busy, but maybe the person above them, or just all the resources that we have available in our business business group can help you get started. There's so many successful diamonds and above that didn't have a quote unquote upline that supported them. And you could easily find the information you need to turn around and be able to teach the information. It's very basic, right? Based on what we talked about tonight, just like, here's what an essential oil is and how to use it, right? And if you could teach that and just share what you love about the oils, that's the most important and easiest thing, and you're going to get people started very easily. Awesome. So I'm just going to talk about the homework real quick. So as you guys know, we kind of do homework for each week. And this week I wanted to make it really simple because I just wanted to help really like get you guys launching into your businesses. So it's just about a script. You guys, I want you to create what your script or outline is going to be for the class. Now we super easy because we attached scripts for you. So what I want you to do is go through and look at each one of those that we have, see the information that each one kind of, how they lay it out, and figure out which one you feel more comfortable with based on either a class that you attended, what it's most familiar to you, or based on the demonstration video. If you like the way that was laid out, we have that video available. So the biggest things is when you actually turn in your script to Melody this week, I want you to write your introduction. So, sorry, I like inhaled dust. I get really excited. I start to talk really fast. But basically, I want you to write your 2 to 3 minute intro. So figure out what doTERRA is to you, why you decided to share it, and why you're excited to teach these people that are at your class, right? So figure out your introduction, because that's going to be a part of your script. Pick which script you're going to, or outline you're going to follow, and just basically copy and paste and write it all out and just start practicing it. So it's going to be very helpful to read through it, but it's going to be even more helpful to say it out loud. So what I did in the beginning was I literally just like printed it out. I wrote it out so it helped me remember, and that's just my brain of thinking. It was just writing it, physically writing it, and then I just practice it out loud. And I personally like videotaping myself because I know that the more I see myself do something, the more I'm going to be able to evaluate how I did and do it better. So if you're really daring, do that. But you don't have to, or you can practice with somebody else. If there's other people that are in this business call that you know, I would highly recommend just being like, hey, can I practice my script with you? Sounds super cheesy, but it works really well. Sorry. And the very last part of that is just figuring out how you're going to talk about the top 10 oils or the top 8 oils that you're going to share. So if you decide you're going to teach on the top 10 or like the family essentials, home essentials kit, practice exactly, like figure out exactly what you want to say, like a story or the common uses that you can feel most accustomed to or like most familiar with. So when you're sharing them in your class, it feels natural. If there's an oil that you're like, I really don't resonate with this oil yet, or I have not had an experience that's great, ask it in the group and start hearing other success stories with that essential oil so you can figure out like, I mean, I sell the vitamins so well because of the people around me that have experienced them just above and beyond. For me, I'm like, great, I have more energy. For other people, I'm like, oh my God, it helped your thyroid, it helped your pain management. And I'm just like, that's mind blowing to me. So I sell them really well because I have a story attached to them, right? So the homework is just writing out your entire script. So it includes your intro and then how you're going to talk about each 10 essential oil, and that's literally it. And then turn that into Melody. If you have any other questions or follow-up, feel free to ask them. I'm going to stay on for just a couple of minutes to ask any other or answer any other questions that might pop up, but otherwise that's it, you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed it and found it beneficial for your time. And like I said, as scary as that intro class can be, or jumping in to teach your first class, it is the best thing you could do for your business to jumpstart. So yeah. You are so welcome. All right, guys. Well, I hope you guys have a fantastic night. Like I said, you guys are more than welcome to hop off. Other than that, I'll answer any questions for the next couple minutes, but you guys have a fantastic night. All right.